Ancient Rome was a melting pot of people, cultures and beliefs from all corners of its vast empire. These incomers brought their pagan gods with them, and they were absorbed into the Roman pantheon. Some of them we know and are familiar with, but some less so, and one in particular is stranger than fiction. If I told you that Romans once worshipped a snake puppet, then you might think this is no more than a legend. Well, it could be true, but the story behind it is even more extraordinary. Meet Glykon, the snake god. Subscribe to Fact Feast, so you can feast your eyes on more content from the darker side. Glykon was a snake god with ancient roots, possibly originating as a cult in Macedonia, where similar snake cults had existed for centuries. The Macedonians believed snakes had magical powers relating to fertility and had a rich mythology on this subject. For example, the story of Olympia's impregnation by Zeus, disguised as a serpent. In 20 BCE, Glykon was referred to by the Roman poet Horace. In his Epistle 1 to Maecenas, in his first book of epistles, "You despair of the muscles of the invincible Glykon." However, the satirist Lucian also provides literary reference to the deity. Lucian claimed Glykon was created in the mid-2nd century CE by the Greek prophet Alexander of Abonotikos in ancient Pontus, now modern Turkey. By his account, titled Alexander the False Prophet, Alexander was a kind of medicine man and a trickster. As he went about his travels, parting the gullible from money, he found himself in Macedonia and happened upon buying a tame snake. Lucian says that a scoundrel can profit from fear and hope, and it apparently took little for Alexander to see an opportunity to fleece the superstitious by connecting their love of fortune-telling and his serpent. He thus set up as an oracle, but an unscrupulous one. As Alexander made his way back to Abonotikos, he stopped at Chalcedon to bury tablets under the temple of Apollo, stating that Asclepius would soon visit Abonotikos with his father Apollo. Of course, Asclepius was the god of medical arts, and you won't be surprised to learn either that the tablets were duly discovered, and in quick succession the news transported to Pontus, whereby the people were impressed enough to construct a temple. The stage was set for Alexander to enter the town, suitably attired in a white cloak and carrying a scimitar like that of Perseus, supported by false oracles. He set about crafting a serpent head from linen, gave it human-like expressions, and fitted it and its tongue with a horsehair mechanism to control movement. 2 snakes, 1 false and 1 true, were ready to trap an audience for the bidding of their master. Next, he buried a hollowed-out goose egg in the new temple foundations, into which he carefully hid the snake, before foretelling the public in their marketplace of the coming of a new incarnation of Asclepius. When the people gathered at noon, when the incarnation was supposed to occur, Alexander produced the egg and sliced it open, revealing the snake within to the astonishment of his audience, who hailed the god and offered prayers. He then withdrew to a house with a stream of people following in anticipation of what good fortune this new idol would bestow. His second act was divine. He sat upon a chair in a darkened room with a snake draped across his body, its head expertly hidden in the folds of his clothes. That is to say, the head of the real snake, for the deception was sealed by displaying the puppet head on the other side of his body before the people, as if it were one with the writhing body of Alexander's serpent, a monstrous god, half man, half beast. Glykon, or should we say Alexander, had captured his prey. Those eager to witness this incredible miracle were shepherded through the exhibition like sheep and duly fleeced of their offerings. The name of Glykon, and, in turn, his flock of adherents, spread far and wide. Glykon offered his new devotees prophesies, in exchange, of course, for monetary donations administered by Alexander. He had mastered the art of removing wax seals flawlessly from letters, left in the temple only for the eyes of the divinity, and cunningly presented Glykon's omens to the amazement of the recipient. This was artfully achieved by having a trusted attendant blow words, as if they were hisses, from a hidden contraption of windpipes that would issue forth seemingly in unison from Glycon's head, operated by Alexander. His predictions were naturally just vague enough in time and specifics, so as to gift the recipient a plausible outcome and allow an entrant to Glycon's temple to exit empty-handed, but content with his head full of meaningless soothsaying. The medicine man of Abonotikos had shed his skin to become little more than a glorified snake oil salesman, selling miracles to the masses. As with previous Macedonian snake cults, fertility was also a focus of worship at the temple. Barren women would bring offerings to Glykon in hopes of becoming pregnant. According to Lucian, Alexander had less magical ways of causing pregnancy among his flock as well. By 160 CE, the worship of Glykon had spread far beyond the Aegean. An inscription from Antioch of that date records a slogan, "Glykon protect us from the plague cloud." That is consistent with the description we have from Lucian. Also in that year, the governor of Asia, Publius Mummius Sisenna Rutilianius, declared himself protector of Glycon's oracle. The governor later married Alexander's daughter. According to Lucian, another Roman governor of Cappadocia was led by Glycon's oracle to his death in Armenia, and even the emperor himself was not immune to the cult. Marcus Aurelius sought prophecies from Alexander and his snake god. With such endorsement by the ruling classes, coupled with pre-existing superstitions of serpents as possessing healing powers, the cult of Glykon likely found no shortage of converts and adherents in the new areas of the Roman world. Meanwhile, Abonotikos, a small fishing village before the arrival of the cult, became an important town and accepted another name, Ionopolis. As Glycon's fame spread west to Rome, so did Alexander's schemes in equal measure. Not content with his dealings in the temple, he devised a stratagem whereby he supplemented his income by profiting from the political secrets foolishly entrusted to Glykon by rich Roman aristocrats seeking an advantage in fortune. Instead, they became the unwilling and malleable patrons of Alexander. Money can go to a man's head, and with Alexander's prosperity, he began to overreach himself with his machinations. Not only did he have a retinue of attendants to pay off, but Glycon's prophecies were having more consequential outcomes for court officials and even the legions that vainly relied on them. Enemies were made of those that didn't accept Alexander's entreaties that they had misinterpreted Glycon's oracles. Persons suspicious of the authenticity of this god soon realized that, by dropping hints to Glycon's attendants as to the character and business of those seeking his wisdom, an outcome would be achieved remarkably unrelated to the actual nature of the text hidden under seal, particularly those that were carefully fixed in anticipation of tampering. While the cult gradually lost followers after the death of its leader in circa 170 CE, it survived for at least 100 years thereafter, due to the prominence of snake cults as healing divinities in the Mediterranean, with Alexander being incorporated into its mythology as a grandson of Asclepius. As the contemporary works of Lucian are the primary written reference to Glykon, its cult and their activities, what became of them exactly is unclear following the death of Alexander of Abonotikos, due to lack of written record. What we do know, however, is that at least 100 years following Alexander's death, a new Glykon cult began to spread its influence along areas adjacent to the Danube, with archaeological finds such as the statue discovered in Tomi, modern-day Constanta in Romania, being interpreted by some to indicate the presence of a large public cult in the city. Lucian was scathing in his opinion of the cult, with Glykon merely a hand puppet and Alexander the puppet master. Though keep in mind that Lucian, the rhetorician, built a career on satire and knew the art of telling a story to entertain and amuse an audience. While Lucian's account of Glykon as a hoax and the enterprise of a confident trickster may not be completely true or accurate, we do know that Glykon was worshipped from the Danube to the Euphrates, Beginning late in the reign of Antoninus Pius and continuing into the 3rd century, official Roman coins were struck in honor of Glykon, confirming his cult was both thriving and popular.